Okay, class, we want to come back to the sympathetic one more time so you can kind of get an understanding. I know I'm going... Okay, remember that the sympathetic nervous system, the fear, fight, and flight, comes out from the thoracolumbar region. Remember that it needs to still go up to the head and to the and lower, okay? All the way even into the legs and everything. Because remember, the autonomic nervous system, innervates smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and glands. Well, in the legs, you got smooth muscle and blood vessels. You got the glands in the legs and so forth. So it needs to go, but it's only coming from a small area. Only from a small area. Just a little bit of your chest and a little bit below the belly button. But it has to go. And you can't just send these neurons, even the nerves, because they would snap as you turned around and everything. So you had this sympathetic trunk. And you have one on each side, just reserved for the sympathetic. We said that was the sympathetic trunk. We explained the sympathetic trunk. We said that first of all, you're coming out from the lateral horn, if you're sympathetic there. And then we said what you did was you came out from the lateral horn, and then you went into your own little thing. But the first neuron was myelinated, a white rami communicans, which starts right there and goes there. And then you could come up or go down or come out the same level. But the second one was gray, so that's a gray rami. Then you would come and hit this ventral ramus. Now, when you hit the ventral ramus, you're back with the somatic. And what you're doing in that case is you're going into the body wall. So anything in the body wall, any blood vessels and glands and everything, you took care of that. So that's what the paravertebral ganglia did. The paravertebral ganglia was associated with sending fibers out that took care of body wall stuff for the autonomic, for sympathetic autonomic. But what about the stuff here inside, like your intestines and all that stuff like that? Because that's body wall. How do you get it to that? All right. The way you do then is what we call the prevertebral, or some call them the collateral ganglia. So let's go over here. So 3 pathways of sympathetic. The first pathway was you come and go at the same level. The second pathway was you came and you went up, or you could go down and do that. Then the third pathway was you don't do anything in there. You go into it. But instead of going out there, you just keep going. A sympathetic nerve. Here's a sympathetic nerve. And you synapse in the front. Now that's what we call, some call it the collateral ganglia, and some call it the prevertebral, because you're inside. So these would be those there. Prevertebral. The way you did that, let's go here, was you didn't go out here, you kept going. So you came and you kept going, and this sympathetic nerve would then synapse up here in the front. By synapsing in the front, then you can take fibers into the stuff in the peritoneal cavity and all that down there, and even in the pelvis. So body wall did the sympathetic, the paravertebral ganglia, paravertebral sympathetic did body wall stuff for blood vessels and glands. And the prevertebral in front, or some call it the collateral, took care of in here, stuff in the interior. So that's how which would be this here. So that's how you got it there. All right, let's go. Postganglionic enter the ventral rami via the gray, what we already talked about. These fibers innervate sweat glands, muscles, vascular smooth muscles. Okay. So in the chain ganglia, that was the chain ganglia, was that here. Okay. Erector pili, where is that? Erector pili, that's in the hair. So see, that's skin stuff. That's body wall stuff. Paravertebral, body wall stuff. We go here, pathways to the head. Emerge from T1 through T4. Let's go up here. T1 through T4. See, it's going to take care of that. Innervate skin of the head. Stem dilate. And see, that's where you get into the superior, middle, and inferior cervical ganglia, which are members of the sympathetic trunk. Nasal gland and all that. Okay. The thorax would be down lower. That would be the T1 through T6. The heart, remember, we go into the heart, cardiac plexus we call it. Cardiac plexus goes to the heart, speeds it up. Thyroid gland, skin, lung, esophagus. T5 to L2, then that's going to go mainly, that synapse in the collateral are also called prevertebral ganglia. That's going to go to the intestinal aspect, thoracic, lumbar, splanchnic. See, here those are. That's what they're trying to show here. Inferior mesenteric and celiac and so forth. So that's prevertebral, and it's going to stuff in there. Okay. Pathways to the abdomen, prevertebral, preganglionic, splanchnic nerves, stomach, intestines, again stuff in here. Pathways to pelvis, okay? Now, the adrenal medulla, here's the deal. The adrenal gland is on top of, let me go back here. It's on top of the kidney. That's why they call it the adrenal, or in England they call it the suprarenal. Some will call it the suprarenal. But let me show you what happens there. Let me find it. Okay. Now, you remember we said everything was a two-neuron pathway. Two-neuron pathway. Okay. But in the case of the adrenal medulla was once going to be part of the nervous system. You remember migration differentiation. So the cells of the adrenal medulla secrete epinephrine. Let me say it again. Epinephrine is a hormone. In England, it's called adrenaline. Adrenaline. Now, I don't go back to your biochemistry. Remember, norepinephrine and epinephrine both came from tyrosine. We go back to the chemistry. Norepinephrine comes before the enzymatic conversion to epinephrine. Norepinephrine is called NAR because a CH3 group is not present. Epinephrine has that CH3, so that's why they say norepinephrine, or in England, noradrenaline. But both of them work exactly the same. But let me say it again. Norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter. Epinephrine is a hormone. Norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter. Epinephrine is a hormone coming from the adrenal medulla. So in the adrenal medulla, the preganglionic fibers synapse directly on the adrenal medulla. So the adrenal medulla, those cells are called chromaffin cells. In the adrenal medulla, the chromaffin, chromoffin, chromaffin cells secrete epinephrine. They were once part of the nervous system. Okay, so upon medullary secrete, adrenal medulla secrete norepinephrine and epinephrine. They secrete both, but primarily epinephrine. Because some is secrete norepinephrine because some of the stuff is sent out before that final conversion. Remember, you need the enzyme to make it to epi. So it might get shot out so quick that it doesn't get a chance to do the final conversion to epinephrine. Okay. Visceral reflexes. Now the visceral reflexes, they're similar to the somatic reflexes. And so most visceral arc has two neurons in the motor pathway. But a visceral reflex would be one like if your bladder got full, you would send a reflex to make it contract. Okay. Now, visceral pain travel along the same pathways as somatic, which then makes it be a referred pain. Let me tell you what I mean. Okay, so here's the visceral deal. See, everything is pretty much the same up to the fact of when you send it out. The sensory is the same, it's just one, but when you send it out, it's still a 2 neuron. So, but it's still the same thing, you know, like the gastrointestinal tract distension and so forth. Okay. Referred pain. Okay, I'm just going to say a little bit. Referred pain basically means since the fibers of the autonomic sensory are coming in with the somatic, sometimes you will feel intestinal organ pain at a different spot than actually the intestinal organ. Like the appendix, the appendix is way down here, but you feel it a lot up here. Here's the gallbladder, it may give you a shoulder pain or this. Now that is kind of where the gallbladder in a way is, but that shoulder is obviously not. So referred pain has to do with where it comes in at the level in the cord. Referred pain has to do where it comes in the level of the cord, and that can mean that you may have the pain in a different area. So, for example, sometimes when we do a laparoscopy, some of you heard of that, and we put CO2 in the abdomen to look around, and we try to get all the air out, all the CO2, but if it doesn't, and you stand up, the CO2 goes under the diaphragm, and a person might have shoulder pain, even though here's the diaphragm way down here. So that's what we call the referred pain. It's in a different area than the actual is. Okay? Now, neurotransmitters, I'm going to start another one for the neurotransmitters. Okay? Another video.